was your best day? Who wants to go first? Who wants to give it a try?
Anyone
Anyone?
brave enough to go first?
Anyone wants to give it a little quick go, a little quick try? I see no one. No one? Okay. Um, why don't you give it a go, Eureka? Show them what it's
Yeah,
like to be
Natasha, let
bold
me
and
go.
brave.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's the best day I've ever had? I think, adulting has really cleared out a lot of those days. So the best day would have to be when I was a child. We went on this family vacation to Cape Coast. If I'm Ghanaian for everyone who needs to know, and Cape Coast, the central region, is a very historic landmark when it comes to the history of Africa, colonialism, and all of those things. So the happiest day of my life was, taking a trip with my family to Cape Coast and just experiencing everything, meeting new people. I just remember that day. It's like that day, nothing could make me sad. Um,
Mm.
for me, that's the best day. That's the best day. And I think since we are a little bit shy, guys, I think we're going to anonymously nominate who's going next, passing the mic. So, Mary, I know and I love that you were confident enough to turn on your mic. You just tell us your name, or well, we know your name, sorry, but you just tell us where you're tuning in from, and then kindly answer this prompt. What was the best day I've ever had?
Okay. Hi. Good good day everyone.
Good day.
My name is Mary. I'm from Nigeria, and the best day I've ever had, I can't say like there's a particular day because I feel like there's a lot. So, but I think one that stood out for me is probably when I was like during my service year, when I was about to leave, like
Yeah,
the way everybody was like, "Oh my God, we are going to miss you," stuff like that. Yeah, so that's one.
that's really
Nice. Well, thank
amazing.
you. Thank you, Eureka. Thank you, Mary. So, um, you know, was it hard? Was telling your story hard? Um, and do you feel that you communicated the real feelings, the real vibes of that day? Yeah, like, because that's the heart of storytelling. You're creating emotion, clarity, connection in a really short amount of time. And if you can tell your story well, you can make, you can share your journey, your value, and your impact. So we're going to come back to this challenge at the end of the session. And I'm hoping once you're equipped with tools, Tematope, Ngozi, Priscilla, those are the ones I can see on screen. You'll be confident enough to also share what one of your best days are. Okay, so let's dive in. Next slide. Now, why does storytelling matter? So, for me, storytelling and the session, it's not like a buzzword. I care so much about being able to communicate your value and your worth. Um, because I don't know if you've heard, but sometimes there's a thing that happens. This might have happened to you in school or in business before, um, and you might have felt it. So you'll be a woman, or you've seen a woman in a meeting. She says something clear, insightful, sharp, real action, real movement. No one really reacts. No one says anything. Then maybe 10 minutes later, a man says the exact same thing. And suddenly it's the best idea anyone's ever had. And it's incredible. It's just like, oh my gosh, Tom, what? Our minds are blown. And that's happened to me in my career before, more than one time. I will have said something, no one cares. A man would have said something, they like kind of crown him as prince. And sometimes I think, why has that happened? And a lot of times it's because for most of my career, I work in sales and marketing. I've been one of the few women in the room, and I'm American. I've worked in the US, I've worked in the UK. I've been not only the few women in the room, but the one of the few people of color, and definitely one of the few women of color in the room. So I have had to learn how to make my voice heard without raising it. And I've had to figure out how to speak in a way that people couldn't ignore me, like couldn't ignore me. Not by being louder, but by being clearer, truer, and being very intentional about how I speak. And I'll never forget something my grandmother used to say to me. I'm paraphrasing, but her message was essentially, in the absence of your truth, someone will write your fiction. So, and that's the risk. Like, let's think about it. In the absence of your truth, you telling your truth, somebody else will write your story, and it might not be true. It might be fictional. And so that's the risk when we stay quiet. When we don't tell our stories, people make assumptions about us, they fill in the gaps, and often they imagine about us far smaller, meeker, far meeker, and far less powerful than we actually are. So that's why storytelling matters. It's not just about branding or visibility. It's about dignity, authenticity, and power. And it's about how we show up fully and lead boldly on our own terms. Yeah? Okay. Next slide. What does storytelling do for you? Okay. So, you know, those like, and I'm assuming because you are all ALX people, you know, you've been around an icebreaker. I find icebreakers super cringe. And I'm American and we love an icebreaker, right? And they're meant to help people notice you and relate to you really quickly. So on Tuesday, I was in a trustees meeting at my church, and the icebreaker question was, people who really know you know that blank, fill in the blank, right? So think about the question. If someone really knows you, they know that X, right? So my answer was, if you really know me, you would know that I don't know the lyrics to any song that was ever written ever. Like maybe my kids are 4 and 1. Maybe I know the words to Baba Black Sheep, but I've been in church my whole life. Do I know the songs? I need that scream because I don't know the song. I don't know the lyrics to any song. But even though I don't know the lyrics, I sing loudly. I sing boldly and I love to sing. Love to sing. I was just at a wedding the other day and I was singing the not the lyrics at the top of my lungs. And when I said this line, everyone in the room thought it was funny. They laughed. But in sharing the moment, it wasn't just about being funny. I was sharing a little piece of myself. I shared that I was like joyful. I don't take myself too seriously. I love, I like vibes and I don't mind being imperfect. I don't have the fear of being imperfect. And that's storytelling at a human level. It's how people begin to see you or, your brand if you're representing an organization, not just as a title or a role, Natasha, mom, wife, best friend, CMO, but as a person. It humanizes your expertise because when people feel like they know you, they're more likely to listen to you and what you bring to the table. It builds trust, especially where trust in places where trust isn't automatic. Like trust is earned, but it's easily lost. So it helps you build trust. And storytelling connects across cultures and contexts because laughter, vulnerability, music, joy, these are all things, regardless of where we're from. I'm from SoCal, Southern California. Eureka is from Ghana. Like no matter where we come from, we understand, the humanizing powers of joy and laughter, right? So storytelling isn't just fluff. It's a leadership tool. It helps you humanize your experience or your expertise. It builds trust and visibility, and it connects us across cultures and contexts. And it allows you to be visible in the rooms where decisions are made. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to look at, and so this is tools, right? We laid the foundation, why it matters, why it's important, how you leverage it. Now we're going to start building some tools on how you can create a powerful narrative. So now let's break down how you actually tell a story that lands. This is a simple 4-part structure that you can use to share any meaningful experience. And by like, this is, for Insta posts, for LinkedIn, for emails, for your icebreaker if you want it. This is something you can use across in any platform. So, origin. Where does your story begin? So, for Eureka, her story began in the Cape Coast with her family. The next thing is the challenge or the breakthrough. So, like, what tensions or challenge arose? For her, it was like being getting a chance to be with the family. Lesson learned. What did she learn from it? Sounds like she just learned that it was really great to be with her family, to experience, and to like learn the history of the African content in the slavery context, especially as it relates not only to Ghanaian people, but enslaved individuals back where I'm from in America. And what was the impact that made on her? Well, it was her best day. One of her best experiences was that. So these are the four structures. How did it begin? What did you go through? What did you take away from it? And what was the impact that you felt and learned from it? And so you don't need to have a dramatic story to be compelling. You just need to be honest, authentic, reflective, and it helps when it's structured well. Okay? So, so the challenge was, what did we say? The challenge was, what was one of your best days? So one of my best days is, on my very first work trip for African Leadership University, I was in Mauritius, where one of our campuses are, the African Leadership College of Higher Education. I'm based in London, and, I left on Friday night. I arrived on Saturday morning. The flight from London to Mauritius is very long. It can be 12 hours if you fly direct, or about 17 hours if you make a connection. So that's the origin. My obstacle was when I arrived, I was incredibly tired. Like I said, I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. At that time, I'd only had Eve, so I think Eve was about 2.5. And so I arrived exhausted, and I had a choice. I could retreat back to the hotel and go to sleep, um, and be rested. I could call my family. When you travel, when you're a mom, when you're a working mom, you always want to make sure that you're taking advantage of your time away in terms of like you're working really hard, so your partner doesn't feel like you're just having a vacation when you go. Um, and I could have just, stayed in my room and carried on. But instead of going back to my room, I made a different choice. I decided to spend the day getting to know my new team and getting to know the island that I was sending students to eventually. So my team and we went on a retreat. We did like a catamaran cruise. We spoke. I learned about their families, about what they're interested in professionally. They got to see that like I don't mess with water. And also, my favorite food in the world is plantains. Like, give me plantains wherever I go. Eureka in Ghana, you can get a plantain, every street corner. In Mauritius, you cannot, which I learned. Um, and so the lesson was, it's a day that reminded me that leadership isn't just about what you do in the office or on Zoom or in meetings. Leadership is about connecting and how you show up for the people that you're trying to lead. Because my team, it was a Saturday, right? Like they don't want to hang out with their boss on a Saturday doing work. They were thankful that they got to do a little bit of fun. And so the impact for me was that one decision to be present and vulnerable and joyful helped build the foundation of building trust with my direct reports. Yeah. So that's the narrative structure: origin, challenge, lesson, impact. Okay, slide 6 is the 3 V's of storytelling. So these V's can be attributed to many different communication experts. So I couldn't really attribute the source directly, but this I didn't make this up is essentially what I'm trying to say. I think credit needs to be where credit is due. There's about 10 different people that I can give credit for this structure, but I liked it. Yeah. So 3 V's: voice, values, and visibility. Now, your voice is your magic. Your voice is your power. I sing terribly. For someone who sings at the top of their lungs and doesn't know any of the words, I sing really loud. but your voice is your power because it's not just how you speak. Um, but what you say, what you stand for, what lens you bring into the room. I'm on the board of the University of Manchester here in the UK. It's one of the oldest institutions in the world. We just celebrated our 200-year anniversary. The board, as you can imagine, are mostly people who don't look like me. They're older. They're a little lighter. Um, uh, but the and when I first used to show up to those meetings, I would be a little bit like intimidated. You know, these are people who run massive organizations. But the reason I'm there is because I bring a different perspective. I bring a very student-centered perspective. I bring a commercial perspective. I bring you know, I'm always thinking about where we have a very diverse student population at the University of Manchester. So I'm thinking about all those different cultures and I know what my value is in the room, and so I try to bring my voice. Because when you trust your voice, you stop asking for permission to speak and you start choosing how to show up. Now, that doesn't mean everything that comes to my mind I say all the time. I'm making sure that I'm well researched in what I say. I'm very mindful of what the conversation is because I'm sure we've all been in meetings where someone just be saying some stuff like off their dome. And sometimes you have to remind them this is not a room with just your family or your friends. This is a business professional setting. And so you always have to make sure that when you are bringing your voice, that it's considered, right? Intentionality is important. So the second one is on your values. Your values are your compass. So for me, faith is really important to me. I'm like ride or die. I'm so super loyal. Um, I value people who say what they're gonna do. I rather you just tell me you can't do it than then don't show up. Like not showing up for me is like showing up for people is one of my values. Your value is your story is your leadership. It becomes memorable when it's rooted in your values. Um, Visibility. Oh wait, where did I go? Oh, so actually we're gonna go to another slide. So these three frameworks, your voice, your values, and your visibility. So next slide, we're gonna give some examples of people who I think are doing the three V's of storytelling really well. Yes, okay. So on your voice, um, the fabulous Chimamanda Adichie. I don't know if you guys. I'm assuming you're familiar with her. She's an author. She's incredible. She said, both literally and creatively, her voice is powerful because it's real and is rooted in her truth. Um, so when you trust your voice, like I said, you stop asking for permission to speak up. So I had the on Bozoma St. John. She is a brand storyteller. So she's worked at Netflix, she's worked at Apple Music, um, etc. She really believes that she chooses her roles very, very carefully because she believes in the companies that she's worked in before, and she's left companies that she stopped believing in because she cares about the stories that she's telling for the companies that she's working for. And the next person is a woman that I just recently learned about, Wagara Maathai. Apologize to Kenyans in the room if I pronounce her surname incorrectly. I'm sure that I have. But when I was in Kenya recently, I bought a children's book for my daughter Eve, and Mrs. Magathi was the author, and she shares her visibility so authentically. She's trying to shed light on things that are very important to her, environmentalism and advocacy, and she does it incredibly authentically. So these are three individuals who, really inhibit the values, the your voice, the values, and visibility of those three V's that we were talking about. Yeah. Um, okay, so we're gonna end here with the last prompt. Okay, so the first the first question is the last question. Who wants to take this? Um, at the beginning of the session, we asked you to talk about the best day you've ever had. Remember, it could be full of joy, connection, or courage. Now let's revisit it. What was the origin? So let's revisit it with the tools that we have. What was the origin of the moment, the obstacle? What did it teach you? What is the impact? Think about the three V's: your voice, your values, your visibility. And who wants to go again? Because then we need to open it up for questions.
Yeah, I see some new faces. I see some new, well, not faces, well, new names. Isinam, Grace Anna, Nokutula, City, Angel, Cynthia. I hope you guys joined when Natasha started in the beginning, but would you guys like to go first? Does anyone want to speak? It would be great if you open up your camera as well. It would be amazing to connect because we all know that, virtual it's advantageous, but it would be great to just, put faces to your beautiful names. So, okay, Nyambura Muriki. All right, Temitope, would you like to answer this prompt?
Okay, I think I'll give it a go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the best thing I've ever had would be the very first time I pitched my business idea to an audience.
Wow.
So I was very, very anxious. I didn't trust that I was even going to catch anyone's interest. But I just went for it and decided to give it a go. That worst case scenario, nobody likes what I'm saying.
Mm.
So I just settled it within myself that I'm fine with whatever outcome. And luckily, I actually won the pitch. I was one of the winners. Nothing could go wrong that day because I was just very happy. And my daughter was there. So it made me very, very happy that I did something where she was there and then she saw me win.
I love the
So
story. I
I
do.
can say that's one of the best days I've had.
That's amazing.
Nice.
I really love the story. Anyone else want to go before we open it up for questions? And if you have any questions to ask Natasha, you just raise up your hand and then I can just give you the mic. But does anyone else want to go? Give this prompt a shot. We're learning about storytelling, and before you are able to tell a story, you have to have the confidence first, guys. That is number one, that is essential. So if there's anything you're going to take from this session, is that confidence is key. And if you feel there is something holding you down, like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, I'm too shy. We're all girls, or I don't know. I haven't seen. We're all, this is a small group. We're not 1,000 people. Just open up. You never know how you might connect with another person. Maybe I have something in common with you. So, anyone else want to go after Temitope? I'm going to lightly call you guys. I think I don't know if Ngozi has spoken yet, but Ngozi, would you like to answer this prompt? Nice. The camera is on. Wow. Hi, Ngozi. Hi. The floor is yours.
Hello.
Hi. We can hear you.
Okay. I just have some questions.
Come again?
I just have some questions.
Just
Okay.
questions.
We
I'm
have.
happy to go to questions.
Okay. Okay.
We only
Sure.
have 10 minutes left.
All right.
Can I go on?
Yes, please. The floor is yours. Any question that you have.
Okay. Personally, for me, I don't know why I've, I find it difficult to speak in public. Most times, my heart will keep beating and beating and beating and beating. And if given the mic, you find out that you are stammering at the end of the day, or your voice is resonating, your heart's beating a lot. You really have things to say, possibly maybe after the show is off, or I don't know. So that's a challenge. I don't know. Right.
What was your question? What is the question?
Ngozi, so your
Did you
question,
hear me?
yeah, we did. So your question, I think you were just narrating a challenge that you have. And so is your question, how do you overcome your anxiety when it comes to speaking in public?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that's the question, Natasha.
Have you overcome your anxiety when you're speaking in public?
Yeah.
So I really have had to work on my public speaking skills. And I have taken some courses. Um, I just keep working at it. So one of the things that I do is I feel as if your anxiety for public speaking is going to be personal to you, right? But there are things in which you need to first identify what is it that you're scared of. So for me, I would notice that I would be more confident if I prepared a lot. My husband is training to be a minister. Dude can like right now give a 20-minute presentation just like off the dome, just like, let's talk about this thing. Boop, boop, boop. For me, I need to spend time preparing. I write it down. I'm looking at my notes on my phone. I'm looking at my notes on the screen. I was practicing in the shower, even for this presentation, which is really just about communicating, right? So I think preparation, practice, identify what it is that you're afraid of. Um, Research, see what people do that is working for them, and you just keep doing it. And again, not every presentation goes perfectly, and you just have to learn from the mistakes, and you just keep going. But it can be scary for sure, but I still get a little nervous. You just have to work through the nerves and slowly, slowly move forward um, for what you need to get out of your presentation. In my role, I need to be a very good public speaker. In other roles, you might just need to be a decent public speaker. But thank you for the question. Any other questions? I think we have 5 or so minutes left.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes left. Any other questions? Okay, since we have a little time left, Natasha, can anyone on this call be able to connect with you on LinkedIn? Maybe in the intimacy of a LinkedIn chat, they'd be able to open up a little bit more. So,
Yeah, of course. You can definitely connect with me. I see a question from Nyambura. What can say that hasn't been said before? Um, but it hasn't been said by you, you know? I think I struggle with that as well. Everything is so I like for me there's two. You're Irene. Okay. I think there's three sources for me. The Bible, I Love Lucy, which is a old 50s TV show, and Shakespeare. The stories in all three of those have been covered everywhere.
yeah.
But for every thing that has ever been written about love, you'll hear a new song about love written by someone with with their own perspective, and it touches you, right? So, am I the first working mom who's ever existed? Nah. But I'm the first Natasha Traynor, British American Belizean married to a Scottish minister with two babies living in what East London that could write about that experience, right? So don't so you're the first person who's going to write your story, and why you want to connect is going to be what drives you for creating the story that you write, you know? So I think it's I think sometimes we get caught up with being an influencer of millions, right? So it's like if you're not attracting a million views or a million likes, like, does it really matter? It does. Because you never know. For one, you can connect with 15 people and one person is really touched by the story that you've shared that like unlocks something in them. So everything has been said before, everything, but it's not been said before by you.
That is so powerful. Like I don't think you realize how powerful you just sounded right there. But I really relate to Irene's question because it's true. Like, how do you say what hasn't been said before? And then the way you just said it so simply and impactfully that it might have been said before, but it hasn't been said by you before. Your perspective matters just as much as the other person. And what you say today can be said by another person 10 years from now in a different way. And that's really, really impactful. That's really something I would take from this particular insightful session. Are there any more questions for Natasha? Um, or if anyone also wants to answer the prompts, you're also open to doing that. I wish we had some music.
I also struggle with like silence. I'm pretending
Yeah.
like I'm normal. I'm like, oh no, this is not killing my brain.
Yeah.
Um, but if yes, you know, if you don't have any questions now, uh feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Um, Natasha Traynor, African Leadership University. Um, Storytelling. Get to it. Keep practicing it. Share some tips. Share some tips with me. And thank you for joining this session.
Thank you so much for this entire session, Natasha. It's been an honor learning from you and even getting this opportunity to spend time with you in the same virtual room. Um, it's really amazing. My manager was supposed to be here to moderate. I know she would have loved to be here, but she got caught up in a few little things. I hope she is proud of me and how I moderated the session in her stead. But
You did a
thank you
great
so
job,
much.
Eureka.
Thank you so much, Natasha. And I will be coming to connect with you on LinkedIn. Definitely, definitely. If there's anything anyone else wants to say, we'll be going in 15 seconds. So if your confidence has somehow kicked in at this point in time, feel free, unless 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much, Natasha.